Broncos country, the NFL draft is just a few days away, and Jordan Reid from ESPN has dropped his full 7-round mock draft for the entire NFL draft. And I'm going to be going over his selections that he made with the Broncos' 7 picks. Of course, we have a pick in rounds 1 through 4, and then we have 3 sixth rounders. So he provided selections for every single one of the Broncos picks. I think some of them are pretty surprising, as the thumbnail kind of alludes to, but we're going to dive into it. I'm going to give you my reaction, how I would feel about these picks. Of course, y'all join the conversation, smash that like, subscribe, and let's go ahead and get started, shall we? So I'll pull this up right here. Try and make this look pretty nice. So let's go ahead and get to the first round selection. This should be no surprise to anybody here. With our first round pick, Derek Harmon. I thought this was interesting, and Matthew Golden both go off the board prior to pick 20. Denver Broncos going Omarion Hampton. Again, this is no surprise to me. Here's what he read, or here's what he wrote about this. He said, setting up infrastructure to maximize quarterback Bo Nix's production needs to be the main priority for Sean Payton. Evan Ingram helps at tight end, but a 3-down back would unlock another dimension for this offense. Hampton is capable of handling multiple duties as a rusher. His 3,100 rushing yards over the past 2 seasons trailed only Ashton Genty. He's also an underrated receiver with 67 catches in that same span. And an offense that requires a versatile running back, Hampton could take a lot of pressure off of Nix. And yeah, I love this selection. I'm totally okay with the Broncos going running back in round 1, because running back changes the dimension, the total dynamic of this offense. What's the most important thing we need coming out of this offseason? We need a running game. We need to take pressure off of Bo Nix, okay? That's going to make the receivers better. That's going to make Bo Nix better. It is imperative to prevent Bo Nix from having a sophomore slump, we need to be drafting a high-end running back. Now, yes, maybe that means, we could have found a good bargain at round 3, but you can't see in the future. Give me Omarion Hampton if he's there at 20. If you guys like Travion Henderson there, or maybe we trade back. Obviously, there were no trades in this mock, but yeah, you can sell me on that too. I'm not picky. Get one of the top running backs in this year's draft. That's going to be the most important thing for Bo Nix. He is Omarion Hampton, my number 1 guy on the board right now, compared to a couple weeks ago. I did find this interesting that Colston Loveland here slid to 22 to the Chargers. That one hurt. But let's continue to move on into the second round. William, get to your question here. Are they going to trade up, you think? This is very interesting. I love the idea of them trading up. If Genty falls, right, that could be interesting. Or if Tyler Warren falls as well, that could be a lot of fun, man, having either of those guys here. I think that they're doing their due diligence, as they always do. My dream is that they would trade up for Travis Hunter, but that is pretty much a 0% chance of that actually happening. The Browns would be insane to not select him at pick 2 if he's there. All right, let's go ahead and get to the second round selection here. You see Marcus Mbo going there to Seattle at 52. But at 51, hey, a guy that Broncos country really, really likes, Jaden Higgins, baby. He wrote here, Jaden Higgins makes tough catches look routine. His 20 contested catches last season were the 6th most in the FBS. He'd give the Broncos another playmaker for Bo Nix and could be a potential successor for Courtland Sutton in this time. If Jaden Higgins falls to the Broncos at 51, this is an absolute home run pick, baby. I love it. Not much else to say in addition to what Jordan Reid said. He described it there perfectly. Now let's get into the third round. This is where things get pretty interesting. All right, let me find our pick here. Third round. This was tough because you see guys like Jamari Caldwell go off the board at 83 to the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. If we wanted to go offensive line, Jared Wilson, Tate Ratledge already off the board. Okay. So where do we go now? Where do we go now? Terrence Ferguson off the board to the Jets. We go with the guy I had in the thumbnail, Demetrius Knight Jr., inside linebacker, South Carolina. Jordan Reid wrote, Knight established himself as the leader of one of the FBS's best defenses last season. He is a smart, urgent defender who would give the Broncos linebacker depth. This is interesting. If you truly believe like Demetrius Knight, for instance, is like a second round talent, right? Hey, go with the guy that is the top guy on your board if he's there, right? I don't necessarily like the idea of the Broncos drafting an inside linebacker with the signings that we've made this offseason for a guy that I don't think is going to be a 3-down linebacker initially, for the Broncos. So, I'm not necessarily thrilled about this sort of pick. It would be nice to maybe go with a pass catcher in this situation, another one, maybe at tight end or go defensive line. I mean, Jalen Royals is available right there. But if you want some more info on Demetrius Knight, here you go. You got it. He had a ton of tackles. I mean, 89 total tackles this year. He can line up kind of everywhere, as you can see here, mainly a box linebacker, but did have 66 snaps this past year out in the slot, 14 on the defensive line. He's, he's sized very, very well, 6'2", 245, and I think can run for, pretty well for his size. Here, PFF wrote, one of the older guys in this year's draft, but he is a mature player with good processing and fundamentally sound tackling. His run defense angles can be a bit over aggressive, but you'll take that trade-off due to how well he moves in coverage when pursuing ball carriers. Interesting. Now, he might be an immediate upgrade over somebody like Alex Singleton. Again, though, when you're drafting a guy that is not slated to be your top inside linebacker for this year with the 3rd-round pick, I'm a little hesitant on that. And the last guy that we drafted in the 3rd round to be an inside linebacker, Drew Sanders, I don't know. I don't want to fully give up on him yet. So we do have Dre Greenlaw. Again, I mentioned that before with our signings. So I'm not thrilled about this, but I can understand it, right? I would much rather go defensive line or somebody like that. But look at the athleticism. I mean, again, for a guy who's weighing, 245 pounds, I guess he weighed in at 235 at the combine, still running a 4.58 in a 1.58 split. Very, very impressive. So seems to be a great athlete. And, I don't hate it because, again, it is a position of need, but I think that there are other players that I would rather go with in the 3rd round. If we just scroll down here more, again, Jalen Royals is interesting, although we just went with Jaden Higgins, right? We could go guard, Emory Jones, Ty Robinson at defensive line, Torrey Horton, or go get a second running back in as a complementary back to Omari and Hampton. Omar Norman Lott, Charles Grant, not Deanne Walker. He's completely off my board, but I think you guys get what I'm saying here. I mean, there are a lot of great players still available here. I think linebacker is kind of a luxury pick here in the 3rd round. Let's go ahead and get to the 4th round selection here. Jordan Reid didn't provide write-ups past the 3rd round. Understandable, because that would be like so many. But we ended up going with Vernon Broughton, defensive line or defensive tackle out of Texas. And he's somebody that we've brought in for a visit. Let me bring up his profile right now. From PFF, you can see here, interior defensive line guy weighing in at 6'4", 305 pounds. So kind of similar build to DJ Jones, a little bit taller. So it does have some potential maybe to add some more weight strength onto his frame, being 6'4", right? But as you can see, I mean, he's lined up all over the place, even outside the tackle at like edge. But then he can play on all parts of the defensive line, which is really what we're looking for. I think that's one of the things that we really like about a guy like Derek Harmon, for instance. If you can't get Derek Harmon, you can get a guy like Vernon Broughton that provides some similar versatility in terms of you can just play him all over the line. Pass rush win rate here at 13. Had a great grade here in run defense and was phenomenal in true pass set pass rush as well. So, yeah, very, very impressive. You know, Sean Payton loves the Texas guys. Here they wrote here, Broughton needs to refine his hand placement and technique to become a more effective one-on-one winner at the next level. However, even in his current form, his length and strength provide valuable versatility as a two-gapping defensive lineman, with his best fit likely coming as a 3-4 defensive end. Boom. We need some 3-4 defensive end depth. So really like this pick here from Jordan Reid in the 4th round. Let's go ahead and move on to the 6th round. This is where things definitely get pretty interesting. Okay, right here at 191. That's right. Bo's brother, Tez Johnson, is our first selection in the 6th round. This would be a pick that, again, I'm not going to be super picky, honestly, about guys that we select in the 6th round. If we want to take a chance on somebody like Tez Johnson, who, again, super tiny frame, while he might give good effort in the blocking and shows toughness, it's hard to sell me, honestly, on a guy that's 155 pounds when I feel like when you're selecting guys at this point in the draft, I would prefer them to have a little bit more special teams ability in terms of like being a gunner and tackling and all that. Man, I don't want Tez Johnson out there doing that. But if you're looking at this from like an upside perspective, this guy's an elite separator. I think he's a good route runner, has good hands, obviously great production over at Oregon. And I would much rather take a stab on a guy like Tez Johnson in the 6th round than, you know, what the Rams did with Tutu Atwell in the 2nd round, or doing what the Texans did with why am I forgetting his name now? The guy that's always hurt. He's always hurt because of his small frame. But from Houston, Tank Dell, nice selection. But again, he has struggled to stay healthy. I would much rather take a chance on a guy like that in the 6th round, which I find interesting. So now you might be wondering, okay, where are the Broncos now with tight end? Like, when are we going to select a tight end? Hey, we do it here at 197. Jake Brenningstool, a nice tight end here from University of Clemson, or Clemson University. Let me pull up his profile here. So 49 receptions on the year, 531 yards, 7 touchdowns. So quite a red zone threat. 6'6", 240. Here they write, Brenningstool seems to be more of a wide receiver than a tight end. If he can improve his route running nuance and playmaker mentality after the catch, he could become a big slot wide receiver type. Until then, he is more of a developmental depth player. Hey, you can sell me on that type of archetype, similar to Oronde Gadsden or Harold Fannin, who was selected earlier, I believe. But yeah, if we can kind of get one of these really nice receiving tight ends to be groomed while Evan Ingram is initially that guy, I think that's really, really nice. I would like to go higher at tight end in the draft than waiting till the 6th round. But again, you got to go with the upside here if it falls to you. All right, let's move on to our last selection. All right, this is a guy that I'm a big fan of here, and I've talked about him really ever since I started doing like mock drafts and stuff this offseason. Tyler Barron, a double-digit sack guy from Miami at edge. You can never have too many edges. I love Tyler Barron. I think he's underrated. You know, he might not give you the best run support initially. I think that obviously you can teach those things. What you can't teach as easily is just becoming, you know, a pass rush god And that's what he can do, baby. Again, 10 sacks on the season, 28 hurries, 10 quarterback hits. Played mainly that edge defensive end position. And I mean, look, even his run stop rate at 9%, that's still really, really good. 6'5", 260. Barron offers a well-rounded skill set, but he's missing the power element that could elevate his game. His speed to power attempts often fizzle out, even against tight ends. And a sharp rise in missed tackles in 2024 highlights concerns about his finishing ability. He's a clear lack of pop and physicality at the point of contact that may cap his ceiling. I still feel like there's a lot of potential there with Tyler Barron. So again, going with an edge, in my opinion, with definitely some more pass rushing upside. I love that. And if we could find another guy, I know they're different players, but we drafted Jonathan Cooper in the 7th round, and he's turned out to be a really nice edge for us. If we could hit in the late rounds on a guy like Tyler Barron, then we're talking about a really nice 4-5 deep at the edge room. I really love that. I really love that. So, in summary, we'll go over the picks again. Round 1, Omarion Hampton. Round 2, Jaden Higgins. Round 3, linebacker Demetrius Knight. Round 4, I'm already forgetting who we picked round 4. Vernon Broughton, defensive end or defensive tackle out of Texas. And then our 3 picks in round 6, we go with Tez Johnson, Jake Brenningstool, tight end from Clemson, and then edge out of Miami, Tyler Barron. I think I'm pretty happy with that. I do think, again, it would not surprise me if the Broncos use one of their 6th-round selections on a punter. Maybe they trade back and they're able to get a 7th rounder somehow. But I do think punter is a sneaky, slept-on position of need that we have right now, especially signing Matt Hack. A guy that hasn't been a starting punter here in a while. It is kind of concerning. So y'all let me know your thoughts. I'll go ahead and get over to some of your comments here in the chat. And let's talk. My friend Alex, hey, I just want to let you know my wife is pregnant. Thought you want to know through a live stream, possibly a future Broncos fan. Unlikely, but is this bad, Alex, that I just feel like you're totally trolling me? I was going to call you here in about an hour. I don't believe you. I don't believe this is what happens when you're pranking me so much, man. We'll have to see how it happens. Hey, what's going on, Jay? Hey, how about Arsenal, baby? Arsenal. Hopefully you're an Arsenal fan from the UK. But yeah, ultimately, if we end up in a draft like this, I'm going to be thrilled. Mainly because we're getting guys like Omarion Hampton and Jaden Higgins that are going to be big-time additions to this offense. But yeah, only a few more days till we find out. I would love the Broncos ideally to trade back, but I just don't know how ideal. Birmingham City, pal. Hey, well, that's where my ancestors are from, right? Yeah, out in that area, Birmingham. It's not where the Peaky Blinders is from too. But yeah, that is where I come from. Those are my people. Let's go. I also wanted to bring this up, get to this. The Broncos have brought in Walter Nolan for a visit. Very interesting. And I love that they're doing this because sometimes you want to use those visits for guys that have reported character concerns or whatever, and really get to know the guy, interview him for yourself personally, all of that. I would love if Walter Nolan checks out with those things. He could be a guy, man, that the Broncos should select, man. I think he could have the highest upside out of all the defensive linemen in this year's draft. I would be thrilled. Now, that does kind of handicap the offense a little bit, unless you're able to get some really nice values there at round 2 and round 3. It could be fun. Tom Brady owns us, man. Hey, it's not the worst thing. It's not the worst thing in the world, okay? It could be a lot worse. Bolt Casa. Hey, here's what's up. You guys get Colston Loveland at pick 22, according to Jordan Reid. We get Omarion Hampton. We then get Jaden Higgins. Demetrius Knight at linebacker in the 3rd round. I don't really like that idea. 4th round, Vernon Broughton. And then our 6th round picks are Tez Johnson, Jake Brenningstool, and Tyler Barron, edge out of Miami. Oh my God. Oh my God. No way. No way. My friend Alex is not lying to me. He's going to be a daddy. He just sent me the photos. Wow. We're getting wow. Well, congratulations. I hope he's going to be a Broncos fan, not a Colts fan, not a Ravens fan. He needs to be a Broncos fan. I mean, this is a first for the channel, a friend pregnancy announcement. Absolutely insane. Yeah. I want us to trade back a bit and get Henderson. This is one of the ideal scenarios, Jay. This could be I think if we're going to trade up or trade back, I think that this is probably the most likely situation because I just don't see other teams lining up to take Travion Henderson before the mid-20s, maybe. And again, like Travion, I would prefer Omarion Hampton over him, but it's it's not by too much. I'm not going to complain going after and getting a guy with serious juice when that's what we've really missed on offense. So it would be fun. Bolt Casa saying, "Dad, gang." Make sure he's not a Chargers fan, or she is not a Chargers fan. Alex can't do that. Bolt Casa, man. I'm trying to get you over here to be a Broncos fan, man. That's what I'm talking about. We need you over here in Broncos country with with some ownership that cares, man. One of my best friends, my friend Phil, he's from San Diego, and he stopped rooting for the Chargers after they moved out of town. His family used to have season tickets every single year and stuff like that. And ever since, he's just kind of been he lives in LA, but he's just kind of been a man without an NFL team. I think he's kind of like a fair weather Rams fan now, though. Okay, let's talk about Travion Henderson, man. People are saying he's too small, being 5'10" and 208 pounds. If you're planning on giving him like 20 plus touches a game, I would agree with that. I think that I think if you draft somebody like Travion Henderson, I very well could see us going with a larger back in the 3rd or 4th round, saying, maybe DJ Giddens, Damian Martinez, depending on where he's at. We could go with a guy in the 6th round, like a Rocket Sanders, who I think could be fun. But I would prefer to go Hampton in the 1st, and then you get that speed back later on. That's what I would prefer. But again, if the Broncos believe that Travion Henderson has that type of Jahmyr Gibbs upside to the offense, I mean, you take him. You take him. What about Cam Skattebo? This was interesting. In Jordan Reed's mock draft, he had Cam Skattebo going in like the 4th round. If we go with like Travion Henderson in the 1st, and then we grab somebody like Cam Skattebo there with the 3rd or 4th round, I'd be happy with that. I think that's probably where he should go. I think he's going to be more of a power back, but he does have some sneaky agility, I think, for his size, and obviously good receiving chops as well. So that's where I would want to see Cam Skattebo selected if he's going to go to the Broncos, not on day 1. Definitely. And ideally not on day 2 either. But if we can get him in the 4th round, I mean, that would be a tremendous pick. And I would be very, very happy about that. So, oh man, Bolt Casa saying loyal to the soil unless they trade Herbert. Well, they should not trade Herbert at all. If Walter Nolan falls again, he could be one of the highest upside guys in this year's draft. It is, I don't, Elway has scarred me on drafting guys that, might have quote unquote character concerns with high picks. You just can't afford to miss on them. But I feel like Sean Payton and George Payton should have a pretty good grasp on whether those concerns are legitimate or not, especially after meeting with him. So if he is the Broncos selection, I'm definitely going to be giving him the benefit of the doubt. So Yeah, Scadaboo with Henderson. I think that would be a tremendous backfield, a very, very exciting one. We get straight up juice with Travion Henderson, and then we get, the next great white running back, baby. So could be a lot of fun. Yeah, let's see. What is your opinion on the Broncos moving up? I'd prefer us not to do it. Again, I would like to have our first round pick next year, like ideally. But y'all go check out Marky Sports. He's also like 18 subscribers away, I think, from 1,000. Please go support him. He brought up this idea today that was really good about how you give up next year's first and this year's second. Um, Essentially what happens is that you move up to go draft Genty, and then you're also moving up from our pick 51 to get back into the late first and draft somebody like Derek Harmon. So you get like that would be the only scenario that I would be really cool with is, hey, if we're gonna move up, let's just let's go balls to the wall, baby. Let's make sure we get 2 first round picks. If we could get a Ashton Genty and a Derek Harmon or Walter Nolan, 2 first round picks, one on offense, one on defense. That would be tremendous. But I just have a feeling that Genty's probably going to go like top 7, something like that, and it's going to be out of the question. Maybe we're moving up for Omari and Hampton. Sure. I just would prefer not to move up for running back. That's just me. I prefer for us to move back, but I know that that's an absolutely massive risk. Yeah, it's Hampton or D-line for the Broncos. It helps develop the balanced box and run game for Bo Nix. And this is the biggest priority, making sure he doesn't have a sophomore slump. We cannot have a sophomore slump for Bo Nix. We can't take him for granted. He had the most pressure on him out of any of the rookie quarterbacks last year because of the lack of run game, the lack of tight ends. Jayden Daniels, man, definitely worthy and deserving of winning Rookie of the Year. But Washington did a much better job of putting weapons around him to succeed. And that's granted, they didn't have a Russell Wilson cap hit to navigate around, right? And they had all their draft picks, if I remember. So they had that luxury. We can't take Bo Nix for granted this year. At this point, I want Travion at 20, a tight end, cornerback, or wide receiver at 51, and Cam Scadaboo at 85. I trust George with finding some big boys in the later rounds. Also, I'm digging Mitchell Evans at 122 as well. Yeah, very sneaky, high upside tight end from Notre Dame as well. Mitchell Evans, go check him out. And I mean, it's true. We've seen more success as of recently with higher drafted tight ends being like those guys, but I still feel like you can find tremendous value there in the mid rounds at tight end. And maybe there's a guy there like Harold Fannin or Mitchell Evans. I think that again with Evan Ingram, that could be a very, very nice tandem. And you don't necessarily need a tight end to be a starter here day one or even next year. Although there is a decent out next year on Evan Ingram's contract. Well, maybe that's after 2 years because I think he signed a 3-year deal. But y'all correct me if I'm wrong on that. Now, corner, if we go with like Noel Williams in the 4th round, I think that would be really interesting. He doesn't really play slot, though. It might be interesting. It might be good to get another slot guy in here as well, as Jaquan McMillan is going into a contract year. And do you want to extend somebody like that? I don't know. But yeah, hopefully we can get some of, Ty Robinson might not be available for us in the 6 rounds from Nebraska, but his Nebraska counterpart, Nash Hutmacher, might be available as well. I think that he's a really nice one. Of course, Desmond Watson, maybe we could get later in the draft or as a UDFA. But yeah, I think we've done fairly decently on finding some of these late round trench guys. I also would not complain at all about going with O-line with one of those 6-round picks. So, guys, I'm going to get out of here. My friend Alex, man, he's going to be a dad. He's going to be a dad. I need to call him here, congratulate him. Man, I'm sorry for not believing you, but I just thought you were trolling me, man. So, going to get to it. Guys, I'll be back again soon. But yeah, shout out to Jay, Bolcasa, T Fishes. Who else we got in the chat? William. Thank you guys so much for joining. Again, go check out Marky's video. Type in Marky Sports, Broncos. I'll catch you guys later. Go Broncos.